You ever get that strange feeling like the universe just dropped something into your lap at the exact moment you needed it most? As if you've been stumbling through the dark for months, maybe even years, and suddenly someone flips on the lights. That's not random luck. That isn't coincidence. That is alignment. That is timing. That is readiness. And if you clicked on this video, if something pulled you here right now, it's because you crossed an invisible threshold you didn't even know you were approaching. You've shifted from wanting change to actually being ready for it. And trust me, the difference between wanting and readiness is massive. Most people live their entire lives in the wanting stage, wanting to feel different, wanting better relationships, wanting more money, wanting clarity about their purpose, their direction, their place on this planet. But wanting is easy. Wanting is passive. Wanting lets you fantasize about transformation without ever doing anything that might actually transform you. Wanting protects you from discomfort. Readiness doesn't. Readiness is terrifying because it means you've run out of excuses. It means you've reached the moment where staying the same hurts more than changing does. And here's the truth, nobody ever bothers to tell you. Readiness rarely announces itself with fireworks. It won't come with a manual, a motivational speech, or some dramatic epiphany. Most of the time, readiness slips in quietly, disguised as exhaustion. One day you wake up tired. Not physically tired, but spiritually exhausted. Tired of your own patterns. Tired of repeating the same internal conversations that go nowhere. Tired of feeling like you're watching your own life from a distance. Like it belongs to someone else entirely. That exhaustion isn't weakness. That's your soul whispering, enough. And that's the moment the shift begins. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you finally stopped pretending that where you are is where you want to stay. You stop making peace with situations that drain you. You stop convincing yourself that settling is maturity. You stop selling yourself the idea that mediocrity is somehow noble. What you don't realize is that you've been preparing for this moment far longer than you think. You've been gathering strength quietly. Every disappointment that didn't break you. Every time you got back up when the easy choice was to stay down. Every moment you chose to try again when logic told you to quit. All of these experiences were building something inside you. Not just hope, not just optimism, something deeper and sturdier. Resilience. A kind of resilience that doesn't require cheering or validation. A resilience that simply knows it can survive whatever comes next. But here's where most people get stuck. They confuse readiness with a feeling. They wait for confidence, for certainty, for a clear sign. They wait to feel ready before making a move. But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a recognition. It's the moment you stop asking, "Am I ready?" and start asking, "What am I doing next?" Because people who are truly ready don't wait for perfect conditions. They work with whatever they have. They start with imperfect pieces. They move with incomplete information. They choose discomfort over stagnation. That's what readiness actually looks like. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's stepping into the unknown without the guarantee of a soft landing. It's choosing to stop suffocating the person you're capable of becoming just so you can remain loyal to the person you've been. And that future version of you, the one you're supposed to grow into, they've been waiting all along. They've been sending you signals for years. Those random moments when you suddenly felt powerful. Those flashes of clarity when everything aligned for a second. Those quiet, intuitive nudges you kept ignoring because they didn't fit into your current identity. But when you're ready, those signals become impossible to ignore. Not because they're louder, but because you finally stopped covering your ears. You begin noticing patterns you missed before. You begin seeing opportunities that were always right in front of you, but invisible because you weren't at the frequency to perceive them. Your energy changes, and when energy changes, everything else follows. And here's something people don't usually understand. The universe tests readiness. It doesn't hand you what you want. It hands you situations that prove whether you're serious. It offers small opportunities that require discipline instead of comfort, boundaries instead of approval, responsibility instead of excuses. Most people fail these tests because they expect the big moment, the dramatic breakthrough. But real readiness is trained in the small moments, when no one's applauding, when no one's watching, when you choose alignment over convenience. When you're truly ready, You stop asking for permission. You stop needing people to understand you. You stop explaining your choices to those who weren't listening anyway. You start realizing that most of the obstacles you complained about were actually just excuses wearing disguises. Time, money, support, knowledge. These weren't the issue. The issue was that you weren't ready to hold what you were asking for. You weren't ready to sustain it, manage it, or believe you belonged in the space it would require. Because worthiness isn't about deserving. It's about capacity. How many times have you received exactly what you asked for, only to sabotage it because deep down you didn't believe you could maintain it? That's what happens when the blessing arrives before the readiness does. But once you're genuinely ready, once you've done the internal work, once you've stopped running from your own shadow, once you've faced the parts of yourself you used to avoid, everything changes. You start showing up with a different presence. You make decisions from clarity, not desperation. You build instead of consume. You create instead of complain. Authenticity becomes magnetic. Confidence becomes silent. And your purpose becomes movement. That's why timing matters. That's why every false start, every failure, every almost moment had a purpose. You weren't ready then. You needed the lessons. You needed the breakdowns. You needed to find your strength the way people always find it, by surviving what was meant to break them. So if you're here right now and something in you is resonating in a way it wouldn't have months ago, pay attention. Readiness isn't about having all the answers. It's about finally being willing to find them along the way. And here's the plot twist. Readiness rarely feels like empowerment. Most of the time it feels like surrender. Not surrendering to failure, but surrendering the identity, habits, and limitations that were holding you hostage. It feels like releasing the version of yourself that kept you safe but also kept you stuck. It feels like allowing the current to carry you forward instead of fighting it. People around you will notice the shift before you do. They'll see the boundaries, the composure, the new energy. Some of them won't like it. Your growth will expose their stagnation. Your readiness will challenge their comfort. But that's not your burden anymore. When you're ready, you stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. You stop apologizing for evolving. You stop dimming your light to keep others comfortable. This isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. Because you cannot uplift anyone from a place where you refuse to rise. And yes, readiness brings a kind of loneliness. Not because you're alone, but because you're finally awake in a world where many people are still sleepwalking. You start seeing through conversations that once drained you. You start feeling repelled by situations you used to tolerate. You start outgrowing the version of yourself that needed validation to function. This isn't isolation, it's purification. Life is clearing the space for what's meant to come. And before the right people arrive, before the aligned opportunities show up, before the larger path reveals itself, you'll walk through a desert-like phase. Everything familiar falls away. Your old coping mechanisms stop working. Your old excuses crumble. Your old identity feels like a costume that no longer fits. This is the phase that sends most people running back to their old life. But if you can withstand this discomfort, if you can let yourself be in the in-between, without rushing back to old patterns, that's where the transformation happens. That's where the new identity forms. That's where you meet the version of yourself who doesn't fear uncertainty, who trusts their intuition, who doesn't collapse at the first sign of failure. This is the version of you that's been whispering all along, the one you drowned out with excuses, distractions, overthinking, and the endless waiting. If you're reading this far, if something in you recognized itself in these words, then the question isn't, are you ready? The question is, what are you going to do next? Because readiness without action is just a glorified form of waiting. And you've waited long enough. The version of you that's been knocking at the door, your next self, your evolved self, they aren't going to wait forever. Not because they're impatient, but because life moves forward whether you choose to or not. And eventually, it will move without you if you refuse to move with it. Your moment is now, not next week, not when life settles, not when you feel more confident or more qualified, not when you've perfected your plan down to every tiny detail, not when the universe hands you the perfect environment, perfect resources, or perfect timing. Now. Because the truth is simple. People who are truly ready never wait for perfect timing. They create it. They step forward while their knees are shaking. They rise even when they're unsure. They move while their voice is trembling. Their thoughts are messy, and their future is unclear. Ready people don't wait for the storm to settle. They learn to walk through it. They don't wait for the path to appear. They carve their own. You've spent so long preparing for a moment you didn't even know was arriving. You've carried dreams in your chest like unspoken prayers. You've imagined another version of your life in your quietest hours. And for months, maybe even years, you kept telling yourself you needed more time, more courage, more clarity, more understanding. But deep down, you knew the truth. Clarity isn't something you find before the first step. It's something you earn by taking it. And if these words reach you in a way they wouldn't have before, if something in your heart is leaning forward, if a quiet whisper inside you is saying, "This is talking to me," then don't ignore that, because your soul recognizes timing even before your mind does. Your intuition feels what your logic can't explain yet. Sometimes your future taps you on the shoulder before you're ready to turn around and face it. If these words hit deeper than usual, drop a comment and write, "I'm ready." No explanations, no backstory, no justification, just that declaration. Because sometimes the first act of transformation is simply admitting to yourself, out loud, that you're done waiting. And maybe you're thinking, ready for what? Ready for the next chapter. Ready to stop shrinking. Ready to stop dimming your light just to blend in. Ready to stop apologizing for your dreams. Ready to step into the version of yourself you keep seeing in flashes. Those rare moments when you feel powerful, capable, more than you've ever allowed yourself to be. It's not arrogance to believe you're meant for more. It's not delusion to want a life that feels aligned, peaceful, purposeful. It's not unrealistic to desire something that feels bigger than what you've lived so far. It's growth. It's evolution. It's the natural unfolding of who you've always been, beneath the fear, beneath the self-doubt, beneath the layers of survival mode that taught you to keep your dreams small. If you know someone who's stuck in the wanting phase, someone who talks about changing but keeps circling the same mountain, share this with them. They might need this message just as much as you did. Sometimes one sentence, one reminder, one moment of truth is enough to shake someone awake. And maybe you'll be the reason another person finally sees the doorway that's been standing open in front of them for years. Because that's the thing most people don't realize. The door is already open, not locked, not hidden, not guarded, just open. Your path is already unfolding, even on days when you can't see it, even on days when you feel stuck, lost, or unworthy. Growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like quiet endurance. Sometimes it looks like small choices that slowly shift your life. Sometimes it looks like breaking old habits, setting new boundaries, or simply deciding you aren't going to betray yourself anymore. But make no mistake, the path is unfolding, piece by piece, sign by sign, moment by moment. And now the question rests entirely in your hands. Are you finally ready to walk through it? Ready to stop hesitating? Ready to stop choosing fear over possibility? Ready to stop replaying the past like it deserves to dictate your future? Ready to stop calling doubt logic and fear practicality? Ready to step into the discomfort of change instead of the comfort of stagnation? Ready to trust that you can handle what's waiting on the other side? Because here's the truth most people refuse to admit. Change doesn't happen when you feel prepared. Change happens when you choose to move anyway. You won't get a guarantee. You won't get a roadmap. You won't get a promise that everything will be smooth. But you will get this moment, this feeling, this internal shift that says, I'm tired of watching my own life from the sidelines. I'm ready to participate. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's how every transformation begins. Quietly, privately, internally. A small decision that changes everything. Your moment isn't coming someday in the distant future. It's here, right now. And the only thing left to decide is whether you're going to step forward or let this moment pass like so many others you promised yourself you'd catch next time. So ask yourself honestly, without excuses, without fear, without the old story clouding your mind. Are you finally ready to walk through the open door? Because your life won't change when the world gives you permission. It will change the moment you do.